Morning and welcome everybody. My name's Amy. I'm one of the health and wellness experts with ToHealth, and I will be taking you through the session today on avoiding burnout, so how to balance work and life for long-term health and productivity. So we'll get straight into the nitty-gritty of this. So what is burnout? There are many different definitions available. So burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. So it's not simply a result of just working long hours. An emotional condition marked by tiredness, loss of interest, or frustration that interferes with job performance. Burnout is usually regarded as a result of prolonged excessive stress. And burnout can be defined as the loss of meaning in your work as well, coupled with mental, emotional, or physical exhaustion as the result of long-term unresolved stress. So the overarching theme is that it's excessive, repetitive, a prolonged type of stress that negatively impacts on your ability to and your interest in things like work tasks. So the causes of burnout will be very similar to the things that cause you stress, because burnout is all of these things, but magnified and intensified. So there might be some work-related causes, feeling like you have little or no control over your work, lack of recognition, no reward for doing a good job, unclear or overly demanding job expectations, doing work that's quite monotonous, unchallenging, maybe working in a chaotic or a high pressure environment, lack of clarity around your role, potentially unreasonable deadlines as well. There might be some lifestyle causes, maybe worrying too much, working too much without enough time to socialize or relax, not enough time spent with the close people around you, taking on too many responsibilities from other people as well without enough help from others, not getting enough sleep, for example. And personality traits can also contribute to burnout. So perfectionist tendencies, for example, nothing ever quite being good enough. Having that pessimistic view of the world around you, that need to be in control all the time, reluctance to delegate to others. So here we have the three critical symptoms of burnout. Exhaustion, so you feel tired all the time. You don't feel up to facing your work day, even if it's just a normal day. You might wake up every morning with that feel of dread, and day after day you feel like this, so it doesn't lift, even after you say you take a week off. So it's more than likely that you're dealing with heavy workload, maybe difficult workplace circumstances as well that are really wearing you out. And left untreated, this physical and psychological state of exhaustion can really have serious consequences on your physical and mental health as well as your career. Some people might want to sleep all the time to cope. Others might suffer from insomnia. Poor sleep habits aren't good for anybody, but the resulting loss of focus, loss of concentration and attention, that can be quite dangerous. Other symptoms as well that can zap your energy might seem unrelated. So some people become more prone to allergies and infections due to that toll of chronic stress, that toll that it takes on their immune system. Additionally, people might suffer from loss of appetite and weight loss. So anxiety is often a common component of burnout. So nagging feelings of tension and worry and edginess. And all of those issues can really add to the fatigue of that fatigue of burnout. Then we have cynicism as well. So that loss of interest, loss of commitment to things, no ambition, no desire to do anything. You might have started out as somebody who really enjoyed working with people, dealing with clients, and now you just find yourself increasingly irritable towards them. You might have that growing sense of detachment from your work, might even be alarmed at how cynical you've become. And that prolonged Stress and frustration in the workplace can often trigger feelings of dissatisfaction, irritability, like I said, that feeling that your efforts just aren't being rewarded or recognised. And then we have low self-efficacy as well. So losing confidence in your ability to do your job, even though you used to be really good at it. So you work harder and harder, but you seem to accomplish less. So your productivity can really drop. Your belief in yourself really falls along with that. So burnout can create this self-defeating cycle where you feel frustrated and ineffective and become less likely to take initiative as well. So this often leads to decreased productivity, declining performance as well. So individuals suffering with burnout can often disappoint themselves and feel disappointed in others as well. So you're quite quick to snap at other people and overreact to things. So just some differences between stress and burnout. So like we mentioned earlier, burnout is really that prolonged excessive stress. So it's not the same as normal levels of stress. So burnout being characterized by disengagement. Your emotions are blunted. You feel helpless, hopeless. There's that loss of motivation, potential feelings of depression as well. Most of the damage is emotional with burnout, whilst with stress, the damage is more physical. So how can we actually prevent burnout then in reality? So this is a really great 3-step procedure designed to help you prevent and manage burnout so that it doesn't get worse, and then to rebuild after that. So firstly, with recognize. With this one, really the first steps to preventing burnout is developing your self-awareness and identifying any triggers and causes and symptoms as well. So the earlier that you can recognize these signs, the quicker you can then intervene and reverse any damage that's been done. Then the second step, reverse. So this is to reverse the damage that's been done already by chronic burnout. The first part of this stage is really just simple self-care. So things like maintaining a healthy lifestyle to manage your stress. And then the third step, rebuild. So the best way really to say, reduce your anger, reduce the amount that you worry, for example, is by activating positive emotions on a more regular basis. So we'll go through each of these individually now as well. So the first step then, recognize. So whether it is controlling your anger, reducing the amount of time you spent worrying, or any other negative emotions that you might feel that you succumb to, this one, like I said, is more about developing your self-awareness. So this means identifying what your triggers and your causes are. So thinking, why do I respond this way in certain situations? What is it that's causing me to feel this way? So it's certainly not easy to do, but mastering self-awareness can actually be a really powerful tool. So potentially the next time you feel or you find yourself in a difficult situation that's quite stressful, then try and make a note of how you felt, what thoughts were going through your mind, how you behaved, what your actions were. And actually making notes can be really cathartic, and reflection is a great way to improve your self-awareness. So again, the earlier that you can recognize, the quicker then you can intervene and reverse any damage that's been done. So this mood meter, for example, is a really great tool for tracking your emotions and identifying any recurring patterns that might be happening. So our feelings have a massive influence on our decision making, but in that moment, actually, we're often not really aware of how we're feeling or how these feelings are influencing our behaviours. So this mood meter is really designed to help us learn to recognise our emotions and to sort of develop strategies for regulating and managing these emotions. So on here, we have energy levels on the left-hand axis. and you've got positiveness on the bottom axis. So essentially, what I want you to do now is have a think about where you are on these axes. So both of them run from a scale of -5 to +5. So essentially you can pinpoint where these two meet. So for example, you might feel right now that you're a 3 on energy levels, so high energy for a Monday morning, and you might feel a 2 on positiveness. So then you can pinpoint where you would be. That would put you in those yellow boxes around that sort of lively, happy. Or you might feel that you have, a 0 on energy levels and maybe a 1 for positiveness. So again, that would place you around that sort of pleasant, at ease, those boxes. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. So mindfulness as well can actually be a really great tool to help you reset and think about your emotions before you react. So if anyone's not sure what mindfulness is, this is a really, really simple way of bringing your attention back to the present moment, focusing on the here and now. So not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. So STOP is a mindfulness-based technique. It's really simple, really easy to use wherever you are. And it just helps you to build a clear picture of your emotions and helps increase your self-awareness of the different emotions that you might be experiencing and the impact that these then have on your thoughts and behaviours. So essentially just giving yourself a bit of time to calm down. So imagine maybe you're in your car, you're on your way to work, someone pulls out in front of you, almost cuts you off, sort of almost hitting you. Your initial response will probably trigger that fight or flight response. But in that situation, you can use this STOP technique. So the S is stop what you're doing and pause. The T is for take time. So take time to notice your breathing, essentially. So are you breathing quite quick, quite shallow? Because if that's the case, there's actually going to be a lack of oxygen going to your brain, which will then impact your thought processes. The O is for observe. So where is your attention actually focused? What are you reacting to? Maybe are there any physical sensations happening? So is your heart rate racing? Are you feeling nervous, anxious? And then the P is for pull back, but change your emotional state. So put things into perspective. Is there another way that you could look at this situation? So step 2 then is to reverse the damage that's been done by stress and burnout. So a lot of this stage, like I said, is simple self-care in different forms. So, and managing your stress levels with healthy coping strategies. So nutrition, I think everything in moderation with this one, but make sure you're eating healthy, well-balanced meals, having some good sources of protein. There's lots of colour on your plate from things like different vegetables, some whole grain carbohydrates that will give you that long-lasting energy as well. Snacking on the right types of things to avoid those blood sugar highs and those crashes. Snacking on fruit and veg, for example, is such a great way to actually get in a few extra portions throughout the day. Sleep is so important to us, so not only for physical restoration, but for our mental health as well. So we as adults, we should be getting around 7 to 9 uninterrupted hours of sleep. Recent studies have actually showed the power of taking quick naps as well. So just 15-20 minutes at a time, just to sort of recharge your batteries, give you that second wind for the day, but really no longer than 15 to 20 minutes, because actually you wake up feeling quite groggy, actually more tired than before you went to sleep. So some great tips for sleeping a bit better. Things like sticking to a regular routine. So going to bed and waking at the same time every day, even on the weekends, easier said than done, just helps to maintain your internal body clock. Creating the right environment as well. So making sure it's not too hot, not too cold, nice and dark, ventilated, a nice comfortable environment with your bed, your pillows. Taking some time to really relax and unwind before bed as well. Disconnecting from technology, perhaps an hour before bed as well, getting rid of our phones, avoiding things like caffeine and alcohol within at least 5 hours before bed. So caffeine can actually interfere with our melatonin production, which is like our sleep hormone. And alcohol isn't a great way to de-stress. So again, it really affects our sleep cycles, really makes us miss out on vital parts of deep sleep. So it actually keeps us in light sleep for a lot longer. Physical activity as well. So don't just mean going to the gym and lifting heavy weights with this one, although if you enjoy that, then great. But physical activity can be anything that involves movement and raises your heartbeat above its normal resting rate. So that could be a brisk walk with your dog, taking the kids for a bike ride, doing some gardening, for example. So we should all be trying to get in the recommended guidelines of exercise every week. So it really depends what type of exercise you like to do. If it's more moderate type exercise, then anywhere between 150 to 300 minutes a week. Or if you prefer more vigorous exercise, anywhere between 75 to 150 minutes a week. Exercise, physical activity is proven time and time again to have a really positive effect on our mood because it releases those feel-good hormones, those endorphins, boosts our energy, really improves our concentration through the day. Then we have relationships. I think it's so important that we have good quality, meaningful relationships in our lives. And actually numerous studies now show that it is more beneficial to have one or two really close relationships than a large group of acquaintances. So that could be family members, co-workers, your neighbours, local community, really trying to surround yourself with people who make you feel happy and good. Sorting out that work-life balance as well. So this will mean different things to us all. It can be really challenging, but try to make sure you're fulfilling both areas of life and you're happy with this. So working really long hours has been normalized for so long. It can be really hard to change this. It's more of a cycle that you need to constantly check in on, reprioritize and make small changes to. Taking time off as well, so using that annual leave for things you enjoy, events, going on holiday. Don't take your work laptop or your work phone with you, for example. Use this time to properly switch off. Allow some time for relaxation as well, so maybe having a nice hot bath, reading a good book, whatever you find relaxing. And developing positive thinking as well, so maybe using techniques like positive reframing. Find that silver lining. How can I look at this situation? Where are the positives in it? And then finally, this last stage of rebuild. So the best way to protect yourself from burnout is by activating positive emotions on a regular basis. So it really is that ability to remain optimistic in tough times, to see that silver lining when everything else might seem quite negative. And positive emotions as well can really help with things like our relationships, help us be more creative. So a lot of things will influence our ability to use positive emotions every day. And the extent to which we can experience positive emotions can depend on a lot of factors as well. So our emotional intelligence, for example, our previous experiences to draw these emotions from, our personality types as well. So quick question for everybody just to have a think about. Is positivity a skill? Is it something that we're born with? Or is it something that you can train and learn? That nature-nurture debate. I don't think there's a wrong or a right answer to that, but just have a little think about that. Personally, I would say I think positivity is something that should be worked on, practiced, and can really be nurtured if we put the time in and prioritize it. So I think, of course, we all have days where we don't have that positive energy, that positive buzz, and that's okay because it gives us time to think, why do I maybe feel a bit more down today? What's triggered that? It's completely normal for that to happen. It's really impossible for us to feel 100% positive all of the time. So we do have to have those negative emotions as well to really notice when we do feel happy. So emotional contagion is a phenomenon where one person's emotions and behaviours actually trigger really similar emotions and behaviours in us or other people. So it's done as well with very subtle things like our facial expressions and non-verbal signals, without us even being aware of it, to be honest. So think of maybe Monday morning in winter, you're stuck in traffic going to the office, it's snowing, you get into the office, you just feel, you're running late, you feel frustrated and annoyed, and actually those feelings can rub off onto other people. So that's like an example of negative emotional contagion. So really focusing on positive emotions, it's more than just smiling. It's really the ability, like I said, to stay optimistic, view your present, your future, your past as well from a more practical perspective. So we all have highs and lows in our life, but try to avoid focusing on those lows, because actually there are a lot of health benefits to positivity as well. So it can reduce anxiety levels, improve our immune system as well, which is amazing. And potentially that's because our stress levels are lower when we feel more positive. We spend less time in that fight or flight zone. So I don't think this one should be underestimated. We can all increase our positive emotions by things like cultivating gratitude, staying in the present moment, techniques like mindfulness, like we said, building optimism and hope. So some key takeaway messages from the session today, just to finish off. Using that 3-step procedure to recognise, reverse and rebuild from burnout. Setting some boundaries between work and home life. So again, these will be different for each of us. Prioritising self-care, nutrition, exercise, relaxation. Managing stress levels with positive coping strategies. Taking time off when it's needed. So don't quickly log into your emails on a Saturday night. Take that time away. Don't be afraid to ask for help and support as well, whether that's from friends and family, your GP, maybe your employee assistance program, for example. Know your priorities, so know what's important to you and why that's important. So on here, I've just put some useful resources as well, but we have come to the end of the session now. I do hope everybody enjoyed the session, found it useful today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to join me. Please feel free to leave some feedback. We always love to hear your comments and your thoughts. So our Trustpilot link is just on the screen here. Again, thank you for joining me for the session this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day and take care.